she came, he didn't come. Oh, I thought
they to do it themselves. And the reaction initially was, well, what can I do? I'm not a clinician. I can't do it. I'll be wasting my time going out. I said, no, just try it. Just try it. So the CEO went out to get the mood and the tone and your own message across. Yes, you've got to be there. One more anecdote. I worked for a while at the rugby union for those who want to sport and rugby. And at Twickenham, there's a big open plan office, and there's the CEO's offices at the end of that. And they were going through a particularly difficult time. And the leader at the time, the CEO, John Steele, he was so much better when we see John walk through the office with his head held high. It just makes such a difference.
And that's the thing, I think, that positive or negative leadership at the top really does affect the entire company mindset. I think often we see transformation potentially fail because leaders wait too long to enact change. What is the one thing you feel they must stop postponing today?
Again, there's a number of answers. But I would, again, avoid the weeds. So you've got time to plan for the future. Stephen Covey, who's the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he has a priority quadrant. Don't just deal with data. Don't just deal with data.
Good advice, that old adage, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Tell me, obviously, we need to have the right management, the right leaders at the top, but obviously surrounding yourself with the right teams is also key as well. Where are some of the biggest mistakes we see when there's too many yes people? Is it an intrinsic part of different cultures? We saw what happened with Fukushima or Chernobyl, when I think the real culture was that it would have been very disrespectful to signal that there was a big failure. Is that something you see a lot of in organisations?
Well, leaders who surround themselves with their best people often are okay when times are fine. Times are fine and everything just pops along and people are. Where it goes wrong is when we get a time of transformational change or crisis. Then you need brutal honesty from the people around you. So those organisations which have got people around who only agree with the boss will typically fail in times of crisis. You do need that healthy challenge from the leadership so that you can make the best decisions you possibly can. And again, that balances with the enhanced and better information you're going to get from AI going forward. But again, there's just a lot of gut in there. For those that have seen Moneyball, which was a film about the success of the Nickel which came about from a focus on data, hugely successful. But at the end, they failed slightly because there were decisions that should have been made by the gut. And if you're surrounding yourself with people who can help you with just that challenge before you make a decision purely on data, that's important. So having that healthy balance where you can have what a chap called Patrick Lencioni calls positive conflict. So positive challenge, positive conflict, then you're in a much better place.
And I think you make a great point there. Are you typically brought into a corporate or a government during times of success or failure?
Both really. I think that we said earlier on, the organisations who are doing very well, I went to work with a professional rugby team in the UK, and as I walked in, he was actually their strength and conditioning coach, but he had a huge team working for him. He said, great to see you. What have you got for me this year? What's going to give me the edge? So there's nothing wrong. But then you do get clearly the opportunities to work for organisations who are struggling and need some guidance as to how they can put that together. So it does vary.
And what are some of the biggest, failures that you've worked on with corporates? How do you help them pivot and turn that around?
Well, I think that there's focus on the leadership, which provides the example. Leadership is about example, but it's also helping culturally the followers. So we call it followership. So the role of that, and funny enough, that's really valuable with youth, because if you're dealing with leaders of the future, but who are at the moment in a position where they're learning to be effective team members, and start to take leadership responsibility. Their first challenge is to lead themselves effectively, and that's what we call good followership. But of course, what does a good follower look like? When they're looking for examples, they're looking upwards. Because leaders at all levels, apart from, at all levels, are following something. Even at the very top, His Highness, the Buddha's book, which I was very kind enough to get a copy of a while ago, the last chapter are his 10 top tips for leadership. And the number one tip is serve your people. So even as the very top, you are still a follower, you are still serving your people. So you are looking up for the examples of how you should behave as well.
I love that. Toby, do you think we learn more from times of success or times of failure?
You learn from both. There was some work done by a chap called many years ago on winning. He asked a question at a lecture I was at with him about what are the habits of winners, and what are the characteristics or traits of winners. And I stood my hand up and said, I hate losing. And he said, fair enough, but he said, I can show you examples of people who hate losing and keep losing. But winners are, so winners debrief. Winners debrief. And they debrief when things go badly, but they also debrief when things go well. So why did we win? Why did we succeed? Why did it go so well? Certainly my time in the army, in the military, every time we went on a patrol, any time we did some form of operation, it was followed with a debrief. What went well, what are we going to continue to do, and then what changes can we make just to raise the bar again.
And I think that conversation, I think that communication is so important, particularly as I think the way we communicate now is so differently. Now we're all over the world, and the use of technology, a lot of it is happening behind computer screens, etc., whether on Zoom or Teams or something. Tell me, if you were to give our audience 3 top tips for success on how we can all elevate our leadership today, I'm talking about practical strategies, what would they be?
As leaders, briefly, I'm thinking particularly about change. It's key things, like I'm going back to Cotter here now for a minute. It's establishing a vision. General Paul talked about communication, and that's over-communicate. Think of any way. Cotter talked about under-communication to times 100, 1,000. Just keep reinforcing the message. And expect to be busy as a leader. Expect to be busy. You're the one running up and down the place, making sure that people are comfortable, they've got the information they need, they've got the support they need to make the difference. And then don't declare victory too soon.
Good advice. Do you think as well different parts of the world are more open to embracing change than others? Again, what I think is fascinating about the UAE is we have more nationalities here than they do at the United Nations. But obviously dealing with different cultures, different ways and norms, different languages, etc. There can be challenges in that. Do you think some people are more open to change than others?
Well, I think people embark on change for different reasons. So either something's gone horribly wrong, and that's often the case. So we've got to change because it's broken, and it isn't working, an organisation's failing. Then there are changes to enforce on you, regulatory changes, whatever. But then there are changes which is, actually we can see the future. And I do think that this part of the world, and Dubai in particular, is taking the lead in visioning the future and getting on with getting there and getting ahead. So I think we go back to Steve Armstrong's comments about where it's difficult, and that is culturally you're so short-term focused that you don't. So I think there's a lot of large organisations in the UK, in the US, in parts of the West who are the cultural norms are so strong, and the way that they're measured is so well established. It's difficult to break out of that until, as the example ESEC. I went around WETEX stands the other day, and the number of new car manufacturers that I've never heard of was amazing in there, as well as the recognised ones who are now trying to catch up.
Incredible. We've got a couple of minutes left. Tell me, in terms of your final message for the audience today, as we look ahead to the future, Craig, if you and I met back here, say in 10 years' time on this same stage, 2035, what would we need to have ensured has been carried out by leaders in order to ensure that the energy transition has been a success? What is the most important objective that you'd like leaders to be aware of today as we manage this transition?
Yes, I think there's because you had a session yesterday with a panel who said that if you asked them 10 years ago what today would look like, they would be miles off. So it's difficult to envisage. But what I would say is that the principles of leadership, whether they're at Sandhurst, whether they're demonstrated by some of the esteemed leaders here, the principles do not change. So the need to be visible, the need to communicate, the need to support, encourage, serve, don't change. So whatever happens in 10 years' time, who knows what the technology will look like? Who knows how the world will look? What I guarantee is that the successful leaders will be living and breathing the same leadership philosophy then as they do now.
Great advice. Craig, thank you so much. Fascinating conversation with you today. Thank you so much for your time. Let's give Craig Kirsten every big round of applause now. Great. Thank you so much.
Very well.
Another great fireside chat, ladies and gentlemen, that we've enjoyed. Now we come to a very pivotal moment, something that you want to mark down, listen to every letter, because now we continue our activities with a keynote address. And this keynote address holds the title of How Trade Can Drive the Global Green Economy, encapsulating both an economic and a climate vision. Ladies and gentlemen, relayed to us by the UAE Minister of Foreign Trade, and we all welcome His Excellency, Dr. Thali bin Ahmed Al-Siyuti.
Excellencies, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good afternoon. Allow me to begin by extending a warm welcome to Dubai, especially to those who have traveled so far to be here with us in the 11th edition of the World Green Economy Summit. Each year through WGES, we are able to chart the progress we're making toward smarter, cleaner and more sustainable future. Green solutions are powerful catalysts for the growth that not only makes sense environmentally and socially, but as the technology improves and efficiency scale financially as well. And just as every sector stands to benefit, every sector must also contribute. Trade is often considered one of the industries most resistant to change. Our global logistics system of cargo vessels, air freights, and road networks, and the demands of just-in-time, always-on economy are often associated with images of carbon footprints and endless emissions. But trade is an essential part of the equation. Indeed, the global commerce can be a driving force in economic transformation by enabling the flow of green products, services, and resources around the world, improving the efficiency of the logistics sector to reduce energy consumption and eliminate waste, and promoting energy transition within value chains. Importantly, the role of trade extends beyond the exchange of goods and services, and it's also a connector of ideas, innovations, and new technologies. The International Energy Agency says that the global market for clean technologies, including solar panels, electrical vehicles, batteries, and heat pumps, is projected to rise from $700 billion in 2023 to over $2 trillion in 2035. The global market for electric vehicles alone is now more than 17 million units and rose by 25% in 2024. In 2023, the EU imported $25 billion worth of solar panels, with China supplying 98% of them. For developing nations, trade is also opening up a new market for their minerals, which are needed for fuel cells and energy storages. And it's creating new opportunities in high potential sectors such as green hydrogen. While trade can empower the green economy, it must also evolve to become a sustainable sector itself. This means deploying clean fuels from truck sites to end users, whether it's hydrogen, powered trucks, and cargo ships to solar power cold storage. It also means using the latest technologies to enhance supply chain efficiency, such as blockchain custom procedures and AI and road optimization and inventory management. If companies can promote these practices along the value chain, we can accelerate the adoption and multiply their benefits. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the UAE has been a leading proponent in each of these vital areas. Here in Dubai, DEWA is pioneering the first solar-powered hydrogen production capabilities in the MENA region, which has the potential to transform the entire energy supply chains. Our comprehensive economic partnership agreements is another enabling platform for the exchange of this knowledge, with built-in regulatory measures to promote the trade of green products between more than 30 international markets. Our CPAs are also creating pathways for investments into climate-friendly sectors. For example, in Indonesia, we inaugurated the region's largest floating solar plant, which will reduce CO2 emissions by 200,000 per year. Our CEO in Malaysia, which came into force just yesterday, helped facilitate an $8 billion investment from Masdar for renewable energy projects in the country. The UAE is now a leading voice in global trade discussion. At COP28 in Dubai, we were instrumental in ensuring a special focus on trade. And we're becoming a founding member of the new Future Investments and the Trade Partnership, which will develop real-world initiatives to ensure trade remains open, fair, and accessible, which is critical to the movement of green products as well as the services. The UAE's message to the world is very simple. This is not about responsibility, it's about opportunities. The green economy is the new gold rush, and the global trade community is ready and willing to join us. Because we all know the rewards are limitless. I would like to end by extending my gratitude to the colleagues from DEWA, and again welcome colleagues and friends who are visiting us here in Dubai. And enjoy your stay. Thank you.
thanks to His Excellency for that keynote that sheds a lot of light on today's. And today is still young. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have ourselves a lunch break. 35 minutes. Let's be back in 30. A nice attendance that we look forward to see once more. Bon appetit, everybody. We'll see you in a bit.
कोई इतना टाइम नहीं लगेगा ना ये नहीं मतलब पार्किंग नहीं है मुश्किल हो जाएगा No, it's fine. That's fine. ये खाली बस गले में डालने वाला हार होते हैं
Mixed vegetables. Mixed veg, like that.
और कुछ तो बना चीज
Yes, sir.
बस बना चीज इतने में देखना जो भी सख्त
This one mixed vegetables. Mixed veg. Same.
cheese what
Yeah, with cheese, no water.
Yeah, but the hot water there behind.
this one
Mix, also. Yes. How about this one? Yeah, mixed vegetables. Yes, we can have this one mixed.
Where you got the friend from? I think yesterday.
Ask for your stuff. I don't have stuff. I'm stuck also here.
He's misbehaving with us.
Where's the hospitality?
No. We need to talk to a manager.
Only just
Leave it, leave it.
to, only just to change.
Look at all boy. Like
As your staff. I'm staff also here. We're all staff.
الوحدة أتوقع. هي الأجندة موجودة هنا. الأجندة موجودة.
The sugar here, other side of the syrup. Black coffee with milk or with milk? We still have black coffee? Yeah. Huh? Or black coffee with milk? Black coffee with milk.
You want hummus? Last. Okay. What is this sandwich? Okay. What is this? It's a veg? Veg.
When they talked about it was heating, I was the seventh.
The video still for renewable. What time would you like to launch? What time you want to attend this? We can go to lunch and come back to the library of the facility. 3 o'clock. Right now it's 1 o'clock. We may go running the business still for renewable.
And it's significant. It's 6 million per year.
What time is to lunch?
This picture is I'm not so worried about what. There are some benefits. اسمه تكس
تحياتنا تتجدد لكم حضورنا الكرام وأهلا وسهلا بكم. نرجو من الجميع العودة إلى القاعة الرئيسية حيث سنستكمل بعد قليل حدثنا بهذه الليلة. Ladies and gentlemen, we kindly ask you to return to the main hall for our event is going to commence shortly. Thank you very much. that lunch. Of course, it was nice. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us at the main hall, but we move on to a panel discussion that holds the title of the business case for renewables. And this discussion opens up broad horizons on the future of clean energy and the potential for its expansion. And of course, in order to shed that best light and cast any shadows away, we summon our speakers onto the stage, and they are Samir Ahmed, the UAE Country Chair of Total Energies, Dr. Walid Al-Aini, CEO of Etihad Energy Services, Hakan Ozdemir, CEO of Smart Infrastructure at Siemens Middle East, and of course, this will be moderated by May bin Sabah. Please, we can welcome.
और 10x मुझे लाख लगाया तो मिलियन वैल्यू है हाँ ये सोफिस्टिकेटेड इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं है हाँ
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for another session here at WGES. I hope you're having a great time enjoying the discussions, the insightful discussions. And now that we've heard from the government side of the story up to some extent. We've had discussions about technology, ambitions. We talked about what to expect maybe at COP30. But this time we're going to talk about the business case for renewables. And this is really important because for businesses and for corporations, they have to strike a kind of a balance between investing in renewables, making sure that this investment is profitable, driving efficiencies, driving competitiveness, but at the same time providing investors with sufficient return on investments, sufficient returns, so the investors happy. So today we have our speakers. We have Etihad, we have Siemens, we have Total Energy. So we have top tier speakers that are going to tell us about their business case for renewables. Thank you so much for joining us. And let me start with you, Dr. Walid, at Etihad ESCO. So when you look at as a UAE business, when you look at UAE businesses and UAE ambitions and targets when it comes to climate change, fighting climate change and investing in renewables, to what extent do you think that UAE businesses are doing and having enough progress in their investments in renewables?
First of all, thank you for having us here today. The business case for renewables in UAE is very clear. It's driven by national commitments such as the UAE Vision 2021, the Net Zero by 2050 strategy, which create both sustainability imperative and an economic opportunity. Renewables and energy efficiency are no longer just environmental goals. They make strong business sense. They reduce carbon emissions, but they also cut long-term energy costs and operational expenses for clients. At the time, so we've positioned ourselves to capture this shift. We are the leader in energy efficiency and renewable energy projects across both public and private sectors. Today we operate a portfolio of more than 180 megawatts peak of installed renewables projects, and the number of course continues to grow. What really sets us apart is how to make renewables accessible. We've developed innovative financing models that minimize upfront costs and reduce risks for clients, so the transition to clean energy becomes financially viable as well as sustainable. In short, let's say renewables are the smart path forward environmentally and economically, and Etihad is proud to be the center of enabling that transition here in the UAE.
You mentioned the key word here. You mentioned the word energy, and I know that for energy companies, this is a different environment than what
was the case 60 or 70 years ago. So I want to come to you, Samir, and Total Energies is one of the leading energy companies globally. So today, renewables as well is becoming a key pillar for different energy companies. What does it mean for Total Energies?
Very good afternoon. So thank you for having me here today. It's my pleasure to intervene on this very important topic. And when it comes to energy companies like Total Energies, yes, renewables, low carbon solutions are quite a change in the picture. And for Total Energies, it brings us back to 2021, when Total at that time changed its identity. So we changed our name, we changed our logo. From Total, we became at that time Total Energies. And this change of identity was directly linked to the integration within our corporate strategy of the Paris Agreement outcome, the COP21 back in 2015. So practically speaking, what it means? It means that in our development, in our strategy of business development, we integrate the climate challenge as one of the main topics to be addressed by the development of the company. So how do we do that? Because it's a big challenge. You know, global energy demand is growing. The global population is expanding. The living standards of the people is getting better, and that's a good information. So we have to supply more energy. So the challenge we are facing is that we have to supply more energy. At the same time, we have to reduce the emissions related to the energy that has been used for decades, mainly hydrocarbons. So how do we do that? We put focus on what we call as a pillar in Total Energies. We have the oil and gas pillar, which is, let's say, the heritage of the company, and we have the integrated power pillar, which is the new pillar that came across back in 2021. And this pillar is providing energy, and in that case, we believe that the low carbon solutions are mainly related to electricity. So integrated power is a branch, a pillar in Total Energies, where we are delivering electricity from renewables, partly, but as well from gas, because we need to fight the intermittency of the renewables. So, you know, when you are a customer and you would like clean energy, you want clean energy, but you don't want to have energy only during the day. You want to have energy and to get access to energy during the day, during the night. So you need to get access to what we call a clean, firm power. So meaning intermittency of renewable is tackled through use of gas, because Total Energy believes that gas is the energy of transition. So we couple renewable installations, photovoltaic farms, for instance, with CCGTs, which are gas turbines that are generating electricity, to make sure that the network is stable and we can deliver power to the customer 24 hours. So that's the branch that is being developed. In UAE, we started actually this approach a long time ago. We are one of the first developers in terms of renewable, with the Shams installation in Abu Dhabi, which is a concentrated solar power installation delivering 110 megawatt capacity.
So Samir, I want to get back to you with all the projects that you're working on here in the region with the UAE government as well. But before that, I want to go to Siemens. I want to hear Siemens' side of the story. And let me start with the projects that you're working on. How do you incorporate renewables into your business model and your business strategy and vision? And tell us about projects that you are working on here in the UAE.
Yeah, thank you. Again, good afternoon from my side as well. So let me a little bit summarize what we do in the technology. Siemens is a technology company that provides lots of sustainability solutions for the companies. We help them to be much more sustainable, especially most of the countries like in UAE, they have the carbon neutral strategy in the governmental plan. So what Siemens is doing, actually combining technology or benefiting technology with the sustainability, so that we can help not only the society, for the companies, for the different business plans. Normally, we do work with the top technological trends. One of them is critically, it's artificial intelligence, who can give us much more accuracy, different forecastings and managing softwares and increasing reliability and supporting the cybersecurity challenges and all that stuff. And we are changing our portfolio as well. For example, WGES, and we work in the projects in this country with the WGES examples, which is SF6 gas-free GIS. And it gives, again, the sustainability dimension. Energy efficiency is another optimization factor for the green energy, because not only the energy production generation, like the renewable energy, is on the table. So you need to do this, and you need to create the right integration model for the renewable energy back to the grids, because you need to integrate them. And the third aspect is actually creating the energy efficiency solutions. This energy efficiency can be done in the buildings to optimize the energy and to manage it much more proper way, and at the same time the industrial operations on the plants as well, or industrial facilities, as well as the critical infrastructure. We have a very good example. We are working with MOEI on energy efficiency projects for the top buildings of them. And we are optimizing the building solutions so that we can create the energy efficiency up to 27%. So this is on top of the renewable energy integration, and we will see lots of examples on the energy efficiency for upcoming years. This is another spectrum, and obviously to enable these kind of things, we are getting benefits of the artificial intelligence, IoT, and time to time for industrial facilities, industrial metaverse as well, where we combine the physical with the digital. So these are small examples what we do.
That's great. So one of the key challenges that companies, whether in the region or globally, face when it comes to renewables is the financial part, getting the funds. And especially if it's a publicly listed company, because investors want to see returns, want to see profit. You know, they wanted to see it as fast as possible. And this is their main focus up until now, even though we are seeing a lot of activist investors joining board of directors of publicly listed companies, pushing forward climate change agendas. Still, the mainstream focus is on returns. So I want to ask you, Dr. Walid, to what extent do you think that there is a kind of the magical equation for balancing, for striking a balance between what investors want and what's good for the for planet Earth?
That's an excellent question. One of Etihad's most significant achievements has been deployment of large-scale solar PV systems across Dubai airports and the Emirates Group facilities. Our flagship project, the 39 megawatt peak solar installation, is among the largest of a kind in the region. To put into perspective, let's say, it now supplies around 6.5% of Dubai International Airport power needs, and nearly 20% of Al Maktoum International Airport demand. Where is the burden here? It goes, let's talk about 20% of Al Maktoum International Airport's demand. How much investment do you think that needs? The impact is substantial. Not only does this project deliver considerable long-term energy cost saving, but it also plays a critical role in reducing carbon emissions, directly supporting the UAE's sustainability and net zero ambitions. Of course, delivering those projects of this scale came with a lot of challenges. Airports are some of the most complex infrastructures in the world, operating 24/7, with no margin of disruption. Our biggest challenge was to integrate the solar system seamlessly without interrupting operations or compromising safety and security standards. The success of this project really lies in two things: strong stakeholders collaborations, aligning with the Dubai Airport, Emirates and DEWA, and leveraging advanced monitoring and maintenance technologies to ensure performance reliability. These factors not only helped us overcome the challenge, but also set a benchmark for how large-scale renewable projects can be delivered in highly sensitive environments. In short, this project is a testament to to what's possible when vision, collaboration, and innovation come together.
So I want to take this question to you, Samir, and I want to hear point out that a lot of criticism was around energy companies, global energy companies, and that they're not moving and progressing fast enough when it comes to their investments in renewables. So considering that, and how big oil and gas companies still focus on their legacy business, which is oil and gas, and adding to that some financial challenges that we still face when it comes to green financing, how do you do it at TotalEnergies?
I think the best answer that we can give is by actions and figures. So in TotalEnergies, we are spending roughly $4 billion per year in low carbon solutions, including renewables. That's quite an important part of the overall spendings and investments of the company, and as well by developing the capacity in terms of assets and electricity production capacity. So our target is to deliver by 2030 100 terawatt-hour per hour capacity, and we are well on track to deliver this. Several projects that we are launching, and the reality is that there is an important question, a very interesting question regarding the returns associated to renewables. If you launch a project, just a photovoltaic farm, and you intend to get high returns, it's a very challenging business. Why? Because the contracts are quite streamlined, the PPA and the price of electricity, they are well worked in the sense that it's a stable return, so there is not much risk, so the returns are not high. But the way we do it is completely different, so and that's why we are targeting 12% returns on what we call multi-energy concept, and it's linked to the integrated power pillar that I mentioned earlier. So we are producing electricity, we are trading electricity, we are as well retailing electricity, and we are on the entire value chain of electricity. If you remain only on the production value chain with PPA contracts, you not make your business more profitable. So you need to work on the full value chain, and that's exactly what we are doing. Good example that we have locally in the region. So in UAE, as I mentioned on the previous question, so we started in 2013 Shams, which is a concentrated solar power facility of 110 megawatt. So this facility is a renewable facility that is integrated to the network and providing clean electricity. On the other hand, we are partners as well on Tawila, which is a CCGT and at the same time desalination plant. So we are producing electricity with gas that we are buying to fight against the intermittency of the renewable. And the third, which is our first pillar, is we are partner obviously with ADNOC to produce oil and gas at the same time. So this is the full, what we call multi-energy scheme that we are putting in place. It's here in UAE, in other countries like Iraq, where we have as well a similar project, gas, renewables with photovoltaic panel farm, but as well desalination, of seawater, and as well in Oman, where we just sanctioned a project, Marsa LNG, which is the integration of the upstream. So we have gas assets offshore, then we have the LNG production plant and solar farm linked together, and the solar farm actually is supplying electricity to the LNG plant so that its own electricity.
So you're focusing on the value chain as a whole rather than a certain segment or pillar in it. So Dr. Walid, I want to come back to you, and if you can tell us, let's focus now on operational challenges when it comes to renewables. What is, in your opinion, the biggest operational challenge UAE businesses face when deciding or starting to adapt to renewables?
I'm glad you asked this question. When businesses consider adopting renewables, the challenges are often twofold, financial and operational. Financially, the biggest barrier is the high upfront capital investment and the uncertainty around the return on investment. Many organizations recognize the value of renewables, but the initial cost can be a real obstacle. Operationally, there are also concerns integrating renewables systems into the existing infrastructure, especially in mission-critical environments like airports, healthcare, or manufacturing. It requires careful planning and ensure there is no disruption to the daily operations. At Atlasco, we've built our model specifically to address those hurdles. Through energy performance contracting, we remove the financial burden from the clients. They can adopt renewable solutions without no upfront capital, while we assume the performance risk. We also deliver projects on turnkey basis, from design, implementation, ongoing operations. So clients don't have to worry about complexity or technical integration. Most importantly, we provide transparent saving guarantees and continuous monitoring. Also through renewables, this means clients can track their energy savings in real time, giving them both confidence and clarity that promised results are being achieved.
So I think this problem of integration is one that I think Siemens also face these kind of problems in your grids when you want to integrate renewable solutions. So to what extent technology can help you with this integration, Hakan?
Right, so I mean, to build on what Dr. said, for example, this integration is one of the key problems when you generate renewable energy. So for the solution, we have some softwares especially to enable the grids to be much more reliable, much more demand management, generation management activities. So we do have lots of softwares, it's specifically for grids. So that is number one. Second, for technological perspective, as long as you use renewable, it is not so much forecastable because sometimes it depends on the weather conditions. If you use solar energy, it depends on the wind conditions. If you use wind power plants and all that stuff. So again, you can utilize artificial intelligence-based softwares that what we have at Siemens. Parenthesis open, it's a little bit the marketing right now, but still. So for this kind of solution, it gives you much more forecasting accuracy. So this is really crucial to utilize this kind of technologies and the data. So all the data with the AI enablements, so it gives you much accurate data and much accurate dashboards that you can manage this integration very well optimized. And there is one more aspect we keep on forgetting, and in some countries, I don't want to name those, but we see some blackouts, and it's momentarily for a couple of hours, couple of days, but right now is a situation, if you use this kind of like the security risks, then most of the airplanes do not work, and the people go without electricity. At this point, it is really crucial, especially the era that we are living in. Everything is with the energy. So that's the reason to increase the cybersecurity protocols and to increase the enhancements of the security, the cyber world. Again, we do have different softwares to enable for the grids to be secure as well. So this is another challenge and the solution altogether.
Okay, so right before the panel, we were sitting together and discussing some of the topics right before we go on stage. And you told me that you already have collaboration with Etihad.
Yes.
So we're talking also about a lot of projects that you're working on with Etihad. So please share some of these projects with us.
I mean, I will give the doctor to say as well, but what I want to say, because you share as long as you want, so I don't want to name all those things that we are working on. Most of them, like, I would say, very strategic. Yes, there is operational aspect on our collaboration, but I see more than operation is a way more than strategic, right, doctor? So for us, it's important we work with the partners. I want to be humble on behalf of my company. Siemens do not have 100% solutions for everything, and we don't want to do it everything on our own. So ecosystems are important to us and in the countries. We work with stakeholders. We work with ESCO companies, with academia, with different stakeholders, with financing authorities to finance our projects. And Siemens has we have our own Siemens Financial Services, which can contribute as equity or project leasing kind of for those kind of energy efficiency projects. But overall, the partnership is one of the key. We even come up with the accelerator program, and we invite the Etihad and the similar companies to be positioned themselves on the accelerator, which is open business platform. Everybody can join and then present their solutions. So these are different energy efficiency projects that we are working on.
I think, Dr. Walid, it's interesting because Etihad is an energy service company. We're talking about Siemens as well. So this collaboration means that you're looking outside the box when it comes to renewable projects.
Absolutely. As a super ESCO for Dubai, I'd like to appreciate Siemens' efforts. We deal with all the ESCOs in the market, discuss with them the solutions that can be implemented for our clients and the efficiency and the saving that can be achieved. We have many success stories. One main success story is our first project, the airport retrofit and lighting project. The initial saving promised was 29%. We are achieving 34% reduction in the energy. Again, it's an ongoing operation that we can identify better solutions even throughout the operation in order to implement them. And I really appreciate Siemens team for their efforts and for working along with us. We couldn't have done this without this collaboration.
That's great. So another topic that is important here to highlight is the collaboration between energy companies and governments as well. Right, Samir, when it comes to fighting climate change, and especially that you were mentioning that Total is no longer just an oil and gas company. It has grown beyond its legacy business and now focuses on renewables as well. And for governments who want to make the progress in climate change, fighting climate change fast enough, they need energy companies who are like yours, like Total, has different pillars and different business segments. So what are you doing when it comes to these kind of collaborations with governments?
The collaboration between energy companies and the governments are quite the same when it comes to renewables, or as you say, the core business, the the core business, oil and gas. You know, we've been here for 81 years now, Total Energies, in the UAE. We have a close relation with the authorities. When it was at the time we developed oil and gas operations, and it's the same. So we need long-term partnership, we need trust, which we have, and then after we need collaboration. The governments set the framework, then we bring technical expertise, we bring, as you said as well, experiences that we have elsewhere, and we mix all that together with financing capabilities as well. We mix all that together, and we make projects like the one that I shared with you, Tawila, that started in 2001, the Shams that started in 2013, which are renewable or electricity projects linked to energy transition. And in Dubai as well, we have almost 100 megawatts photovoltaic panels installed on commercial and industrial sites. And that's as well, let's say, the outcome of a fruitful relation between the governments, the authorities, and the companies that have been here in UAE for decades. So long-term partnership, understanding in the strategies, and we are fully aligned. When you look at UAE climate strategy and you compare it to Total Energy, it's very similar. ADNOC, the national oil company, has a very similar strategy than Total Energies. They are even more ambitious because they are targeting net zero by 2045, which is even more ambitious. So we align. So that's a strong collaboration, sharing the same objectives, and long-standing partnerships.
So Dr. Walid, you were mentioning Dubai Airport, and I'm stumped every time I go into Dubai airports and the reliance, the growing reliance on AI. I mean, I travel a lot, I go to a lot of airports every year, but there is no airport like Dubai Airport. So I want to hear your thoughts around mobilizing AI in Etihad and Dubai Airport, because I think it sets a very high example, it sets the bar really high for other governments globally.
For us as a energy services company, utilizing AI is mostly for the measurement and verification, the operation, how to improve the systems that we have. If you're talking about how seamless Dubai Airport is and how the movement of the crowd, of course engaging with Dubai Airport, especially with the operation, due the execution of the project, we learned a lot of things from them. And the most important thing for them is nothing can be interrupted. No delays, whatever challenges, there is an open channel of communication, especially for our teams coming and executing the job. Everything is clear and set in a certain path where it was discussed with all the stakeholders. When you talk about Dubai Airport, it's many stakeholders running the show. It's the airlines, it's the airport authority, it's the immigration, it's the fire and safety, it's the police, it's the technical, it's the airside. So how they all run smoothly is magical.
So I've been covering international markets for over 10 years now, and what stuns me really is what is happening with AI stocks, companies like NVIDIA, like Microsoft, like Alphabet, and the minute they mention how much they're putting a budget for AI, the stock goes high as 10%, 12, 13%, only on a disclosure that we're planning to invest 1 billion, 12 billion, 30 billion in AI. How much is Siemens' budget for AI, and to what extent are you relying on AI more and more now in your grids and your systems and business model overall?
First of all, the AI is now in everywhere that we work with the technology, because we are, again, as I said, like a technology company, and AI is one of the core technologies. And let's not forget, I don't want to count the names that you just mentioned about other companies, but Siemens is founded 1847. That gives the company is getting very close to 180 years. So all those years, Siemens was always there. But I try to say technology is evolving. The company's reliability lies in the histories as well. There were lots of changes during this almost 175 to 180 years, and all those changes, Siemens always becomes stronger. Right now we have almost 400,000 employees, and we spend 6.3% of our budget to R&D, the basic answer. And that gives already a couple of billions of euro just for those companies. There is a little bit, we call it the organic growth of the company, but at the same time we acquire lots of companies. And Siemens had a big acquisitions for the last years, and most of them they go to software area again. So plus on top of the organic and inorganic growth, so again as I say, like we believe in the partnerships. We have different partnerships with Microsoft. We have partners with NVIDIA to work on the similar topics and on AI. So for those kind of partnerships, we give another momentum to companies like Siemens and to momentum to NVIDIA and Microsoft so that we have a common goal. How we can utilize the new type of technologies to make the better quality for the people's life and to create the reliable critical infrastructure, create a better integration of the energy, to go with the green energy and all that stuff. So that technology is going to be one of the keys. So overall, from every aspect, we do the investment, but I want to underline as the last words of this paragraph. So consistency is important because you mentioned about the stocks, and the consistent growth is important. So personally, and as well as for the company, so we never go with the short-term profits. So whatever we do, it's very strategic and it's very long-term oriented. So that's important.
Fair enough. So for you, Samir, representing Total Energies, what does the future look like for energy companies globally? Those who are now starting to invest more and more into renewables. I mean, 30, 40 years from today, how do you see Total Energies?
That's a nice question. That's a nice question. Today we are embarked, as I mentioned, in this journey of fighting against the climate change, making sure that we are reducing the emissions associated to our operations, but as well reducing the emissions associated to the products that we are bringing to the market. So this journey, it's not one night, a day journey. It's a very long journey, and it's not a journey that we are making alone. We are alongside the authorities of the countries where we have our activities, because as we were mentioning just earlier, the government set the framework, and we evolve within this framework. So together we are, let's say, building the future of the energy. But when I look at it, where I see the energy in 30, 40 years, I believe we will still be producing oil and gas. That's one thing that we are quite clear on. We do not think that we will be producing the same amounts than the one we are producing today. That's for sure. We will be obviously increasing in terms of ratio. We will be producing more energy compared to what we are producing today. But the ratio, hydrocarbon versus clean power, would be completely different. It will be in 30, 40 years, over 50% of the energy produced coming from clean hydrocarbon solutions, which is not the case today. So it's a transformation that is completely aligned with the society, and we will be producing more energy to more people with better living standards. So it's all great.
I love this answer. It's quite a good vision and future for Total. I wish other energy companies would have the same outlook as yours, Samir. Dr. Walid, what would you like to see in the regulation and regulatory landscape here in UAE to support UAE businesses and their ambitions and their adoption of renewables and clean energy?
I think we have all the support for the policies and legislations. Our leadership is very supportive. Having this event on an annual basis, coming up with a different slogan to accelerate the adaptation for energy saving and sustainability. We have the accessible, the accessibility is there for technology, for the use of artificial intelligence. The tools are there. The responsibility relies on us as people to implement it, adapt it. Otherwise, if we don't change, we're not going anywhere. We'd like to refer to Science Sheikh Mohammed Rashid in this book. In chapter 4, he's saying, if you don't change, you don't exist. I mean, this is an ongoing practice that we have to adapt to save the environment and the planet for the coming generations.
So coming to you, Hakan, and considering you're the CEO of Smart Infrastructure at Siemens Middle East, how do you envision smart infrastructure in the Middle East in the years to come? To what extent do you think that we're going to start to see major shifts and transformations in the Middle East region overall?
I think there are some periods in the technology which enabled infrastructure to move on much digital way. So from manual management of the buildings or the infrastructure, including grids, the water systems and everything, so it was much more usual. And it became a little bit automated. Right now, whatever we do is a little bit automated. So the digital means for us, it's going to be much more autonomous systems. This is what we see in the future, which means autonomous grid management, which analyzes more data, which can come up with the understandings and the forecasts much accurate way from this data, so that you manage grids much reliable way, much accuracy and much efficient with all the projects. Similar in the buildings, the autonomous buildings which manage itself with the building management systems, combined with the fire systems and every technological aspect in the building with the AC systems and everything, and which reflected in the cities. So I imagine a city is having a kind of like a dashboard, then you manage from out of this dashboard, to see the city, how the city is running with the infrastructure in much more digital way, lots of data integration, and the second point is continuous optimization. Continuous optimization to make a better quality of life for the people living in the city.
Thank you so much, Hakan. Thank you, Dr. Walid. Thank you, Samir, so much for joining us. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Another great session. We thank its speakers and moderator alike. Ladies and gentlemen, we now continue with a new panel. This one holds the title of Green Pushback, Navigating Shifting Climate Policy Across the Markets, which addresses practical responses to changes in environmental and climate policies. big title and a bigger discussion as well. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us in this discussion are Zoe Knight, Global Head of Sustainability Research and Integration at HSBC Bank Middle East Limited. Joining her is Jessica G, founder and CEO of EcoBusiness. Also, Jason John, partner at Avia & Co. And Mohammed Ali Al-Dhabar, chairman of the Circular Packaging Association. And the moderator is Katie Jensen. May I please ask you to give them the loudest applause you could make? Right?
Well, good afternoon, and thank you once again for joining us. We've got an incredible panel of speakers with us today. We're going to be exploring a bit of a controversial topic, the pushback against a green energy transition today. We're going to be talking about everything from carbon border changes to packaging bans, political rollbacks that are all colliding with business plans, and talking about who is going to be funding the energy transition and where is this money coming from. Zoe, as the global head of research of sustainability and integration at HSBC, you see these flows firsthand. Now, we know the energy transition is roughly about $6 trillion every year, but there is a $2 trillion gap. Where is that capital most likely to come from over the next 12 months?
Well, first off, Katie, thank you, and thank you to the World Green Economy Summit for inviting me to speak today, because of course the most important topic is who is going to pay for this transition. And we have to get a bit more innovative in our thinking around this topic. We know today that the public sector is fully exposed to debt. We've got up to 100 trillion of debt outstanding in both emerging and developed markets. So we do have to look to wider sources, and one of those sources has to be the oil and gas industry as a whole, the fossil fuel sector that is in transition itself. But first, one of the areas that has been particularly successful in terms of mobilizing capital is the fixed income labeled product space. So green bonds today are outstanding at 2.7 trillion. And that's a green bond is one where the use of proceeds is very clearly defined for green projects, so we're financing the transition through that route. But if you widen that out to the sustainability lens, you get another 2.1 trillion of bonds outstanding, taking it, of course, to 4.8 trillion outstanding as we stand today. Now, we know that's not enough. You mentioned the 2 trillion gap. So if we take a look at the oil and gas sector as a whole and look at how that capital is being deployed within companies themselves and also through the sovereign wealth fund network, we can immediately see that there's room for potential. And we expect that to become in a greater prominence in the year ahead and in the 5 to 10 to 15 years as we move forward to thinking about net zero to 2050.
And I think you make an interesting point there. We are seeing a number of big oil and gas companies, particularly in this part of the world, really play their part in that active transition as well. Jason, let me bring you in here, because as a partner at Avia, you are in the boardroom when a lot of these big decisions are being made. Now, I want to ask your thoughts on the EU carbon tax. As we know, that will start charging next year. So when CBAM actually starts charging, the IMF has warned that exporters of carbon-intensive goods, things like steel, cement, and aluminium, are likely to face increases of more than 1% on shipments to Europe. So what do companies in this part of the world, here in the Gulf, what do they need to be doing now in order to prepare for that?
Thank you, Katie. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. That's a great question. When you look at CBAM, CBAM is essentially a charge at the EU border on exporters into the EU on the carbon-intensive products, as you rightly mentioned, steel, aluminum, fertilizers, hydrogen, for that matter. In terms of how companies are preparing for it, I would say the first thing would be to know that it's going live in the next 3 months. So the first bit would be to know and map your carbon exposure. When it comes to the product that you're exporting into the Europe, to know what is your actual carbon footprint when you're looking at your scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. That would be the first bit. The second bit would be to look at your own suppliers and contractors and contract strength. You would want to embed carbon and strong embedded carbon metrics into your contractors so that the suppliers are held captive to their responsibility in terms of their delivery. That would be the second bit. Third would be to have a scenario planning. When you look at carbon, the carbon charges, if you look at EU, right now it's roughly placed around 70 to 80 euros per ton. So it would be prudent for your financial department to look at your entire carbon footprint and have a scenario plan for, let's say, 70 euros, 80 euros, and you can even see leaders in the industries. For example, Microsoft is a great example where they have looked at $100 per ton. So that would be the scenario planning. Fourth would be to decarbonize quickly. When you look at your own operations, as you know, when you look at operations, it's roughly 11 times more the carbon footprint is higher when it comes to your own strategic management. That's the third bit. And finally, I would say as a board, when we speak to boards, what we look at is having a structure in place, a place of accountability, have the companies, have the board, have a champion. And back in the day, we would call it sustainability officers, but a champion who can quantify your carbon data across the board. So that would be the different ways in which we can, an organization can prepare for the CBAM.
So really, I think, I guess appreciating that climate risk is really linked to financial risk as well. Just let me bring you in here, because as CEO of Eco Business and the founder, you've been following climate policy for about 20 years. You're based in Singapore and you advise governments and corporates all over the world of what they need to understand about climate policy. So when we talk about things like CBAM, obviously for Asian exporters, we are looking at tight margins. For buyers here in the Gulf, high prices on raw materials like steel and cement. From your view, how disruptive do you think these new charges will be? And what should Gulf companies be doing now in order to try and get rid of it?
Thank you so much, Kitty, for your question and also for the opportunity to be here. I remember the last time I was in Dubai, it was actually for COP28, where the international community agreed on the historic words to transition away from fossil fuel. So I'm really excited to have been following policy in the UAE and Middle East. We started a newsletter, and I really commend the leadership I've seen in this region. Now, we've been seeing a wave of regulation, and CBAM is one of them. We know it's been coming for years, and Asia, as the manufacturing hub of the world, we have been trying to get ready for that. And I think what companies have been doing really is that they have been investing in decarbonization, because what's happening really is the leveling of the cost of carbon and leveling of the playing field. And so even though there was actually a lot of pushback from a lot of countries on CBAM, I think many countries accused you of trade tactics, etc. But if you take a step back, what it's actually trying to do is putting a price on carbon. And for many, many decades, we've operated on the principle of the invisible hand of the market, Adam Smith, and look at where it's got us, right? We're seeing the accelerating climate crisis, we're seeing deepening inequalities, and we have to make the market mechanisms work for us. So what we've been seeing in Asia is that the companies that have been preparing for this legislation, decarbonizing their industries, innovating and really getting ahead of the game, have actually won market share and got a competitive advantage. And if I can also bring in another EU legislation, EUDR, that's also one of the pieces of legislation that's heavily impacting Asian countries, all companies. And the result is that you have to get your house in order, you have to know how to disclose, you have to know how to measure, how to account for it. And this all puts us in a much better competitive advantage. So I think companies that have invested and prepared are in a very good position, and the companies who are lagging behind are those that think things are at the speed as it will because of the chaos we've seen this year. But I think that would be quite foolish if that was the approach.
As you say, that really private sector companies should not be waiting for regulators to enforce the rules, that really they need to be preparing now before it's too late. Tell me a little bit more about that. Do you think the private sector is open to that kind of advice, or do you think most of us tend to wait until the actual rules are in place? A bit of carrot versus stick.
There's a whole wave of companies that see this as an opportunity rather than a compliance issue. And apart from the wave of regulation around trade and around manufacturing rules, etc., we are also seeing a wave of disclosure mandates. In Asia, where I sit, there are, let's targets, the companies prepared, they need to build the in-house capacity, they need to look at their strategy of how they can implement it. But there are varying levels of success with this, and we've seen in Asia as well that there are many companies that think that, they're pushing back against regulation. They're saying this is too much to the climate cost is too high, we're just surviving, why are you making us do this? But I think if we take the long-term view, what you said, climate risk is financial risk. If you don't take action today, you might be faced with a much larger bill in the future. And so I think with a lot of the companies that are looking at how to plan, years ahead, they are actually sitting up to the fact that regulation is coming at them, and that's something that I think governments need to continue to enforce and to advance.
And we are seeing more pressure on disclosure, Zoe. It's something I want to ask you about a little bit later. But Mohammed, let me bring in you here, because the UAE is doing some incredible work. They're rolling out extended producer responsibility here, even as we see pushback in other parts of the world, from the US, UK, many parts of Europe as well. Now, we know packaging today makes up around 40% of all plastic waste, and yet less than 10% of plastic worldwide is actually being recycled. A lot of it ends up in landfill, a lot of it ends up being leaked into our environment. So, from your role as the chairman of the Circular Packaging Association, what is the one incentive that would ultimately move the industry the fastest, and who should be carrying that cost?
Thank you so much for having me today. I would take from Jessica's point, I say private sector companies is not afraid from accountability. What they are afraid of is uncertainty. When policies are in place in a way that the companies are not able to predict what's happening next year or the year after, things will start to be questioned. From the EPL perspective and packaging, I think thanks so much for sharing these statistics at the beginning, because packaging is linked to climate, believe it or not. Those waste elements of packaging, plastics, cardboards, and everything, is not getting recycled. It's either being exported, hopefully, or being actually ended up in landfill. Ending in landfill means creation of methane, which is way, way more harmful to the planet than lots of other gases, greenhouse gases. So it's a very, very strong linkage between packaging, circularity, and climate. Now, back to your question, what is the one thing that will enable the industry and companies to drive further innovation towards circularity of packaging? It's merely the predictable, consistent, and flexible policy framework that the companies can excel their innovation and direct their investment towards it, to make sure that they have a long-term plan that can address these policies. And that's exactly why the CPA was formed in the UAE, because there is a huge momentum here in the country of the public-private dialogue that can enable a policy framework that can enable these action plans. On the cost side, let's imagine what is circularity in packaging? It's simple. Today we drink the water bottle and we're drinking the last water bottle. The last usually is being tagged as circular and environmental friendly materials. But let's see this one. We drink, we throw, and then it goes to landfill. This is linear. Simply very simple. We drink, we throw, it goes into the economy again, recycled, and back to the game. So imagine with me it's like a highway road. Right? The government creates the road. The companies with the fees start to do the lining and the maintenance of the road. And the consumers are the riders. So we are the riders. We either choose to ride carefully and actually have the right awareness to segregate waste at shores, to start acting responsibly for these materials and products, or we can drive recklessly and create accidents. So it's not only a cost dollars or dirhams element, it's more of a responsibility element that is shared all across the ecosystem of packaging circularity.
It's going to be that circular economy, doesn't it? Tell me, where do you see the biggest gaps in the frameworks today, Mohammed? You spoke there about the private sector really wanting that stable framework, that reliability. Where are the biggest issues today?
Okay, back to the bottle. So, it's nice, but I just want you to familiarize yourself with it as a personal example. Let's assume this is the bottle that you want to recycle. First, it's at home. I bought it. Do I have the right infrastructure at home that can enable me to segregate waste? And do I know where should I put this bottle and where should I put the other glass one? So this is the infrastructure and the awareness campaigns. Am I getting incentivized and penalized in case I'm doing this one? then the right infrastructure for collection, and the policies related to collection, then the right infrastructure for recycling. And the green financing and the investments and the attraction for recycling infrastructure that enable this waste after we collect it to actually recycle it. And then finally, the policy that mandates the companies who are in the country to reuse this recycled outcome of this investments. So it's a cycle of policies that needs to be there. I will tell you, unfortunately today, we lack lots of harmonization of policies of this element when it comes to harmonizing these policies in one country and one region to enable the scale. But there are lots of opportunities as well. That's why we are getting the momentum. Since COP28, I would say, there is a very, very strong momentum when it comes to circularity or packaging that we were able to work. And even before that, COP28 was the cherry on the cake. And now we are trying to drive these elements and address every gap to the right.
Jessica, I can see you want to comment on this.
Yes, we were arguing about this issue even before the panel started. That I have covered the Global Plastics Treaty for many years, and in fact, eco-business, we just launched an impact documentary called Wasted. It's not about getting wasted, it's about the waste issue. And I think that the one thing that you asked was one key thing. It's producers pay for use. And I think that that principle has not been taught often enough, because at the end of the day, we want that circular economy infrastructure. But in how many countries is it possible for you to actually, at the end of life of that plastic bottle, be able to put it into infrastructure that actually recycles it into the economy? It's not there. And for decades, we're waiting for the private sector to put that in, and it hasn't happened. And so now what we're seeing is that actually, with the Global Plastics Treaty not coming to a conclusion, every single country is still capable of putting in its own legislation. And it has to be on the basis of polluters pay, because it is the problem that is created, and they have to contribute to the solutions and to the financing of those solutions. So I just want to make that point.
Well, actually, allow me, small one, I fully agree with you because we were just waiting in these decades for the private sector. This is exactly the reflection of the cost question. We have three different elements of the ecosystem: government, the private sector, and the people. So everyone should step up for their own responsibility by the policies that we agree with you, by the private sector responsibilities, and as well the consumer awareness and responsible, I would say, acts with consumption.
Okay, interesting. But yeah, Jessica, you obviously feel that we do need that regulation, we do need those potential penalties if we really want to see real change on the ground. Let's take a look at the bigger picture, Zelri. We were talking a little bit about the $2 trillion gap in funding in order to manage the green energy transition. So there is a shortfall, but at the same time, sustainable bond issuance worldwide, that topped $1 billion. So clearly, capital is moving. So are we seeing tools like CBAM or circular economy mandates? Are they steering it in the right place across borders? What are the big opportunities, and what kind of investor appetite is there for something like the issue of recall?
Well, let's start with CBAM, because we touched on that a moment ago. So clearly, in terms of companies getting prepared to maintain their market share of a given product that is going to be subject to CBAM, means that they're making operational investment into making their own business future-proof to be able to participate in that market. And that creates a momentum around the operational sustainability factors that are, of course, helping everybody. But then there's the wider agenda, which is if you're as an investor managing a fund that is thinking about how to both be aligned to climate outcomes, but manage the wealth of that fund for your clients and for future generations, then you also need to think more so today about the macroeconomic consequences of how CBAM will play out, alongside the company-specific ones. And that's where we expect a lot of the work in terms of the financial sector markets research analysts to be focusing on. Now, why is that important? It's important because as we go through the cycle of national determined contributions to the country climate plans that we're seeing at the moment ahead of COP, they're giving very clear signposts to investors of what an economy needs to do and wants to do in terms of managing climate change. That can then give rise to the innovative financial instruments because there's more certainty around the plan. Investors can make a choice on whether they believe the plan will be delivered or not, but they can't complain that they didn't know the plan because it's set out in the NDC. And therefore that can give rise to the public-private partnerships in a more comprehensive fashion than we have seen previously, bringing philanthropy, for example, give the MDBs, the concessional finance layer, again, a little bit more certainty and clarity. Because to Mohammed's point, it's the certainty and clarity that is what investors like when thinking about innovation and finance.
And then the second part of the question, how much appetite do you think that you